John Fogerty was the front man and the driving force of Creedence Clearwater Revival. He was their main singer, main guitarist, and main songwriter. Around 1972, he started working on solo stuff. Firstly, he did one album under the name Blue Ridge Rangers, and then continued using his own name, so releasing under the name John Fogerty. He had various legal wranglings and a acrimonious split with the label that Creedence had been with, and some of his own mates as well. He had some not great relationships with them later on, and that kind of dogged his early solo career. But including Blue Ridge Rangers, he has released 11 solo albums. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the third solo album under John Fogerty's name, so not counting the Blue Ridge Rangers album. And I had a copy of this on cassette years ago, and I've played it quite often at the time, so I know it fairly well. So I got into Creedence Clearwater Revival as a student. I can't remember how I discovered them. A lot of things in those days I can remember exactly what happened and how I got hold of it, but I can't remember with Creedence. But I bought this album off the back of that, and yeah, enjoyed it. So I would describe this as being swamp rock, mostly because it just sounds like Creedence Clearwater Revival, basically, but it is a little bit updated at times. It's, I guess, swamp rock. I don't know if there's anybody else who would be described as swamp rock. Blues tinged rock, but with an element of country too. So it's kind of a blend of rock, blues, and country, and very kind of down to earth stuff. It's kind of rooted in real life quite strongly. So it goes along nicely. Some of the songs use more electronic stuff, so there's occasional bits of synth, processed drums, which feels like a bit of a departure for this sound. I guess that's kind of a feature of the times. What was this, 1985? So, yeah, there was a lot of that around. So I guess either he decided to, or he was encouraged to use some of those sounds. And from what I've said, but also obviously listening to it, I could also see this being described as heartland rock, and in fact, I think Wikipedia does as one of its list of genres. So this is partly because it's rock, but partly because it's mostly songs about life. So it's kind of like the rock equivalent of folk in that it's about real life, I guess. Two of the songs, however, Mr. Greed and Vance Can't Dance, are almost certainly about Saul Zant, who was the former label boss from the Creedence Clearwater Revival days, who John Fogerty was not a fan of by the end, and claims that he swindled them and embezzled money out of the band and all sorts of things. So bizarrely, though, so there were legal wranglings over that. And originally, Vance Can't Dance was called Zance Can't Dance, but he changed the name for legal reasons. But also, Zant sued John over this album in another way, which is that he claimed that the chorus of the first track, Old Man Down the Road, is the same as the chorus for Run Through the Jungle, which is the Creedence Clearwater Revival track, which it kind of does musically. It's very similar. But the issue was, of course, that Fantasy Records, which was Zantz's label, owned the rights to the Creedence stuff. So this became an important legal case in terms of the question, can you plagiarize yourself? It's kind of a weird situation. Ultimately, it was ruled that he sounded like himself, but this is not an unreasonable thing to happen, is for you to sound like your previous stuff, but that the songs were actually distinctly different enough. Let's get back to describing the album. His singing is quite distinctive. Again, if you're used to Creedence stuff, you'll recognise his voice, I would say. He can occasionally sing quite high and rocky. It reminded me of Robert Plant in the song Mr. Greed. So Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin. He's got a nice bite to his voice. He can sing kind of gentler, but he tends to sing in quite a rocky way. And Yeah, it's a nice collection of songs. Definitely kind of a bit of a blast from the past for me as I listened to this. And enjoyed it. So overall, I like this album. I would love to know, though, what you think of this album, so please do share by writing a comment, typing it in the comments down below. All you need to do is to use your fingers and type. Or, in fact, if you're on a phone, use your thumbs like this. So, whatever you think is appropriate. I shall stop rambling now. That's it from me for now.